Here with Concordia head golf coach Brett Muller to preview the 2026-27 seasons. As we record this, getting pretty close to the season opener for the women, right as classes get started at Concordia. Start with something away from golf, but what were some of the big highlights of the summer, and maybe you got some golfing in yourself?
Yeah, kind of highlight of the summer is we did vacation down in Florida for me personally, and just being able to get out and watch some recruits playing this summer, and we had a lot of very active golfers, so that was good to see from our returners and incoming freshmen as well.
And you've had probably at least a few rounds maybe to see your team this preseason. What can you tell us about kind of the format and what you've gotten out of things so far?
Yeah, so we brought both teams in last Thursday, about 10 days before classes start and the women's first tournament, and we've played 4 rounds of qualifying so far at 4 different golf courses. So we'll finish up our qualifying back at Highlands on Thursday, and then that'll kind of set our lineups for the first tournaments.
Starting on the men's side, I know it was a pretty young team last year with freshmen making up a good part of your varsity lineup. So there were maybe some inconsistencies, but how do you hope that maybe going through that is going to help the guys this year?
Yeah, so that group from last year that's now sophomores probably took some growing pains, but really matured as the season went on, and I thought those guys put together some good scores. Very excited to kind of see where we're at through qualifying, especially with that group. Right now, Calvin and Tyler are both playing very well, and if qualifying ended today, they'd both be in our top 5.
What else might the lineup look like? I know you have some upperclassmen as well. Jacob Dowd's been in the program for a 4th year now. How do they or what is the expectation from them?
Yeah, so right now Jude Elgert has kind of earned the number 1 spot through 4 rounds. 2 of his 4 rounds have been under par. Calvin put together a great round yesterday, shooting -4 at Mahoney in round 3. So great to see from those guys. Another great round today from Michael. Shot under par at York today in qualifying. So, we're getting a kind of a collection of guys that are playing some rounds under par. This will probably be the most depth we've had. Kind of look at that. 5 through 9 spot right now are very tight. Finishing up qualifying will be important, and then those guys performing well in tournaments is really kind of how they'll kind of jockey for positions and kind of move around in the lineup.
On the women's side, there were several team records broken last season. How do you build on that, and how does that maybe give them some confidence that they're in a good position right now?
Yeah, with 4 of our top 5 coming back from last year and having breaking some records last year, they have definitely raised the bar, kind of raised the expectations there on the women's program. With those returners, that's a competitive group. A lot of them, or most of them, definitely want to do well. Also want the team to do well. Obviously, losing Emery from the playing side will hurt us, but I feel like our returners and our freshmen, will have more depth on the ladies' side. I think Emery will provide great value to not just the women's team, but also the men's team as well, just with her experience as a top player in the conference, and definitely somebody both teams can kind of rely on for some insight and expertise.
I was going to say, you have 4 kind of main returners that were typically part of your varsity lineup, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Any insight on? I'm sure they all expect to improve from where they were at last year, and one of them is Maddie Lewis, who gets a 5th year of college athletics. Anyway. Yep.
So right now on the ladies' side, Maddie Lewis and Savannah have performed in our top 2 spots so far through qualifying. It was awesome to see Maddie come back and take advantage of her 5th year after playing volleyball her first year here, and then this will be her 4th year with the golf program.
Maybe you could mention or you did mention Emery Custer, but what excites you about having her in a different role now, kind of helping you out as a coach this year?
Yeah, just being a presence around the program. Obviously she was on the playing side the last 4 years, and just she knows kind of Bulldog golf and kind of the expectations I have for the team, and can be a great kind of liaison between the players and also myself, and she'll be a great addition to our coaching staff.
Now, you have quite a bit of time to prepare for conference championships, which are in the spring. So what are you hoping to maybe establish this fall for both the men and the women?
Yeah, so this fall, both the men and women's team will play in 5 tournaments. On the men's side, majority of those will be 54-hole events tournaments, trying to get us ready for our conference championship in May. On the women's side, most of those are 36-hole events. When we host our home invite in the spring on the women's side, that'll be a 54-hole tournament. I just think it's so important to try to find those 54-hole events, just to try to prepare our teams for conference. As you mentioned, there is plenty of time between the start of the fall season and our conference championship at the end of the spring. But being able to stack days and continue to improve, this off season is so important with the fall season, and then transitioning into the spring. Winters can be pretty tough, but taking advantage of the hitting center, putting in extra time there, and making sure we're really ready to go. We'll be taking the women's team down to the Phoenix area again over spring break, so playing Southwest Minnesota State's invite down in Phoenix. So that'll be a great start to the spring season for the ladies.
All right. Well, you a few years back had alum Amy Ehlers get inducted into Concordia's Hall of Fame, and now Nolan Zekas will join her in the Hall of Fame. What does that mean to you as a coach? And I'm sure it's extra special considering all that Nolan went through battling cancer during his career. But how excited are you to kind of see that moment happen?
Yeah, really excited for that opportunity for Nolan. It's definitely something he earned. You kind of mentioned all the adversity he's overcome, just in life, not on the golf course, but off the course, and just the type of competitor he was his 4-year career. And, it's very, very rewarding for him, very excited for him to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Very proud of him.
And this is season 16, right? Where did the time go? I was just going to do some off-topic questions quick. Okay. So if we already talked a little about what you did in the summer, some other things. If you could pick one restaurant or fast food place for the rest of your life that you had to eat at, what would it be?
Let's go Texas Roadhouse.
If you could only watch one show for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
Seinfeld.
Singer or band that's gotten the most run on your playlist?
Probably the Dave Matthews Band.
Who's a famous celebrity or athlete or even a coach that you would most want to meet?
George Brett.
What makes Concordia the best school in the country?
Just our sense of community. We have Bulldogs for Bulldogs. I mean, we're taking our golf teams to the volleyball match tonight. Very excited for them to be able to hang out outside of just our sport as well.